Hello, and thank you all for joining. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce you to Charles, CEO of TextMine, who will be leading this session.
Thank you, Hannah. And yeah, welcome to this webinar on AI-powered document data extraction. We have a short presentation to sort of frame the problem and challenges with extracting data and answering questions from documents and how AI sort of helps. And then we have an interactive demo where we will show you how you can sort of extract data and answer questions from contracts, invoices, etc. So yeah, without further ado, I will share my screen, and we have dedicated time for questions. But if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the Q&A, and Hannah will make sure that myself or somebody else from the TextMine team answers them. So in terms of the agenda, there's a very brief introduction to the company and AI, and more importantly, we'll dig into sort of what are the challenges with document data extraction and why AI is a good fit for solving this challenge. We'll touch on some use cases, and then there'll be the demo and Q&A. So quick intro to the company. I'm one of the co-founders. I have a background in engineering. My co-founder Amber has a background in law. And 4 years ago, we were very much frustrated with how data in documents was tracked and managed within businesses, which is why we set out to build a company to make it easier to answer questions about contracts. But we've since broadened to other business critical documents, such as invoices, purchase orders, statements of work. And really what we do is we offer an end-to-end solution for managing business critical documents. But the focus of today will be on our extraction and question answering capabilities. So just to introduce AI and why AI is having its moment right now with text-based use cases such as document data extraction. So historically, AI has mainly been composed of machine learning-based models, whether that's supervised or unsupervised. But in machine learning use cases, the models are trying to induce patterns from data to model what's happening within the data. And that means ultimately that these models are very good at detecting patterns in historical based on historical trends, but they're not so good at forecasting. Generative models are, again, following a similar approach. So they're trying to induce patterns, but especially large language models, which are a type of generative model focused on understanding text, they're actually looking to complete sentences or complete text-based inputs. And as a result, they're generating content as opposed to machine learning models, which are sort of more focused on trying to identify patterns. And so, for example, what a large language model will do is it will rank, it will make multiple predictions in terms of, what should come next following an input, which in most cases is a sentence, but it can also be a document. And then it will rank those predictions and with fine tuning, learn to sort of provide the desired output. But one key thing with large language models is that they're trained to sort of answer or do all sorts of tasks. And obviously, ChatGPT is a good example. ChatGPT can write poems, summarize, answer questions. But when it comes to actually understanding business critical documents or trying to do specific use cases, there's a lot of effort that needs to go into training the models to understand the use case or perform certain tasks. And obviously document data extraction and question answering is one of those types of tasks, but it's not something that you can just do off the shelf using ChatGPT or other large language models. So in terms of the use case around document data extraction, one reason why it's difficult to sort of automate is because documents contained unstructured text, which means that if you are looking to pull out key information, somebody who is knowledgeable of the document or the industry needs to be able to read it, locate where that information is stored, key it into a spreadsheet or a ERP system, and then maybe check if that data is correct, which is very time consuming, and obviously, much more prone to error when documents are complex, long, or there's quite a broad range of data points which are being tracked, or maybe questions that need to be answered about the document. So, yeah, as I said, it's very time consuming. And then the second aspect also with spreadsheets is if you are in a business, likelihood is that there are multiple teams sort of tracking this information. But when this information is stored in a spreadsheet, it's very difficult to verify, the source, whether it's accurate. Because of human error, it just makes it very difficult to sort of know which spreadsheet to track when you have multiple people or teams, creating this and maintaining this spreadsheet. And just generally speaking, it's not necessarily a great use of anybody's time to sort of manually update the documents and key in information. The other challenge with this sort of form of manual extraction is that you can't sort of ask questions in natural language. And secondly, if ever there was an ad hoc query from a stakeholder or a new use case which sort of popped up, you would have to sort of go back to the original document database to sort of then repopulate that spreadsheet if ever you hadn't already been doing it. So generally speaking, manual document data extraction is a massive productivity sink. It's very expensive, and right now can only really be solved manually. So I said right now, but of course with AI, that can change. And in particular, where the AI can be applied is on the one hand, understanding documents, and then secondly, extracting and inputting information. Of course, AI models are still, prone to errors, just like humans. However, they can learn through repetition and improve over time. And the great thing about AI models is, unlike humans, they don't get tired. So you can continuously feed in new data and improve them. So in terms of the benefits of document data extraction with AI, well, it means that you can actually mirror your entire organization's business critical documents. And there's no limitation because there's no longer a human bottleneck for creating or extracting data from your documents. It also therefore means that you can link documents that you wouldn't typically link. For example, master service agreements with invoices, purchase orders, and statements of work. This information right now might be tracked sporadically between different silos, and it's very hard to connect because of the nature of these documents. Whereas with AI, you can definitely centralize and uncover sort of patterns and discrepancies. And by doing all of this, you're ultimately increasing document data visibility and compliance across the business. So that's sort of the benefits. And in terms of use cases at TextMine, we're seeing a broad range of use cases because ultimately document data extraction is a challenge in many domains, whether it's procurement, finance, compliance, or legal. And what we're also finding is that the technology is creating use cases because this technology hasn't really been applied to documents before or been good enough to sort of warrant companies actually implementing it. But some high level use cases are detailed here. Obviously, it's great for auditing your contracts and documents, especially if, for example, there's new legislation that you need to sort of implement and you need to understand how exposed you are. It's also great for preventing unwanted renewals, keeping on top of key dates, uh, good for tracking obligations, it's good for extracting PO numbers so that you can send correct invoices. But generally speaking, using AI just allows you to save a lot of time on manual search, manual data extraction, and everything can be audited, including the AI itself, which means that you have a system in place now to verify the data quality and improve processes if the data quality is not there. Whereas obviously with human employees or colleagues, you can definitely improve them, but the room for improvement is not as high as with an AI system. So next step now is to sort of showcase how document data extraction and question answering can be done using large language model. And this will be performed using our product called Vault. I'm going to switch screens. So great. So this is the portal for Vault, which is basically where documents can be imported into the system and data can be extracted. There are other components to the platform, which I will mention briefly, and we'll be doing additional webinars to cover them. Scribe is where we can manage templates for the purposes of new documents. Legislate is where we sort of explore data and export data. And then we also have additional functionalities such as alerts and reporting capabilities. So in terms of extracting data from documents and answering questions, we do have native integrations. We can also set up email inboxes because a lot of these PDFs are flying around inboxes. So we can connect to them to ensure that they get automatically extracted. And once they are submitted to our system, also via drag and drop, that's another option. The model will do two things. It will first of all look at the underlying text to categorize it. So we can see here it's already identified an invoice. And once it's identified the document type, it will automatically look for or start creating the document's metadata based on this document type. So for example, if we click into the invoice, we can see on the one hand the PDF that I uploaded, and then on the right these tags that are created automatically. So name of the supplier, payment frequency, total cost, etc. If we jump back, we can see here that now we've got an NDA, and the model is able to, on the one hand, extract those values like supplier information, etc. But the model is also able to answer yes, no type questions. So, for example, does the recipient have representatives, etc. Which means that we can actually go a step further than pure document data extraction, because we're not just looking for values. We are able to answer questions. And talking about sort of verifying this information, by clicking on each of these tags, you'll be taken straight to the part of the document where the model found the answer. So here we've got the confidentiality term, we can see the governing law, etc. So ultimately, even if you wanted to do a manual verification of the extraction, it's a lot more efficient than if you were sort of tasked to create those tags manually from the beginning. So this is sort of very effective. And with all of these tags, you can also configure them by creating your own tags. So for example, you could say, what are the rules around certification? And this will then submit that individual tag to the model, which means that, for example, if ever your team has a checklist when reviewing documents, the model can then, you can then submit them to the model so that you can truly enhance your workflow. And here we can see that it's correctly identified the rules around soliciting the other side's employees and clients, for example. So that's for an NDA. We can jump, for example, to an MSA. So that's the other thing, is there's no limitation in terms of length of the documents. This document here has over 100 pages. This would take hours for somebody to manually go through and identify the relevant sections and answer the questions. So the model is AI can really do a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to extracting information and answering questions. This, in terms of what I've showed, is very much on the individual document level. And this is obviously useful when it comes to verifying the information. The next step to sort of truly automate document data extraction is to export this information. Now, with our platform, we can basically help create snapshots of the data without you needing to maintain your own spreadsheets. You can obviously do that if you wish. But if, for example, you had a stakeholder that wanted to quickly identify all the NDAs with a 3-year confidentiality term and governed by English law, you can enable this very quickly by clicking on the filters. And all these filters are dynamic, meaning that they're connected to the data, they're updated after every selection, which ensures that you're only selecting values which exist. Which again, if ever you're doing manual data extraction, you would have to sort of do an exhaustive search across all your documents or all the potential filters to see if it actually is possible. And in terms of the output, you can then output your spreadsheet where each row corresponds to a document matching the initial search criteria, and each column corresponds to one of the tags that's been extracted with the actual values. So that's really the process for extracting information using AI. There's a lot of flexibility and there's a lot of room for improvement because it is all ultimately within a software system. But again, there are many use cases and it really just comes down to where there's the most value to be unlocked. So the next part of this presentation really is questions. So I don't know if Hannah, you want to sort of hand the mic to the attendees.
Just waiting for some to come through. Okay, so we've got one here. How does using AI like Vault impact the roles and responsibilities of existing staff?
Great questions. So ultimately, we're not trying to replace the colleagues that are sort of doing manual data extraction. I think what we can do is enhance their efficiency, meaning that if you have a team of 30, for example, doing document data extraction, they can, be twice as efficient and, focus on high value tasks. And I think that's one key thing to note is that document data extraction, when done manually, is not that pleasant. So using a system like Vault definitely improves the quality of work, whilst also freeing up a lot of time to perform high value tasks such as interpreting the data and identifying improvements. So, do you need doc templates? So, sorry. I'll just answer the question and I'll hand it back to you, Hannah. Sorry. So in terms of templates, no, we don't need specific templates, and that's one of the great things about AI is the model. As soon as it sort of understands what a NDA is or a master service agreement is, it can sort of just operate. It doesn't matter if it comes in different shapes and formats, because ultimately we're not teaching the model to operate within a template or read a template. We're really teaching it that in a master service agreement, it has these sort of key concepts, and we're teaching it to sort of extract those concepts and answer questions about them. And the other great thing about large language models is they do have multilingual capabilities. So if ever there are documents in other languages, the models will still sort of have some basic understanding. And of course, there might be some performance degradations when maybe the documents contain information that is not typical. But again, because it's an AI system, it is able to learn quite quickly.
And how easily can Vault be integrated with existing business systems and software?
Yeah, great question. So we've obviously demoed today the app, but we've got a public API, which means that we can integrate with pretty much any system.
And then there's two questions here. So the first one is, what are the key challenges in implementing AI for document extraction, and how does Vault address them?
Yeah, so I think in terms of the challenges, large language models are a relatively recent family of models, which requires a lot of expertise. So most businesses, if they have a data science team, then they can probably definitely look at implementing their own large language models for the purposes of document data extraction. One of the other challenges is that it's very costly to sort of fine tune large language models because they run on GPUs. So the whole training and even the hosting is quite expensive, which means that the benefit of using a solution like Vault is that you don't need the data science expertise yourself, and you don't need to bear the training or hosting costs because that's all sort of managed by us.
Yeah, and then the second one there was, how does Vault ensure the accuracy and reliability of the extracted data?
Yeah, so ultimately, AI systems are never 100% accurate, and there's definitely always room for improvement. But that's why we give scores to sort of encourage users to verify the predictions. But what we have found is that the model is able to sort of learn very quickly from its mistakes, which means that once it's made some mistakes and it's learned the corrections, it won't repeat those mistakes.
Yep. So the next one is, how safe and secure is the data stored from the documents it takes in?
Yep. So like any software, there's always going to be information security concerns, and that's not specific to AI. TextMine as a business has taken security very seriously from the beginning, and we've now ISO 27001 accredited. But of course, if you're sort of building your own AI models, there's need to be sort of additional considerations around, hosting and storing the data that is going to be sent to the model, and also ensuring that the responses from the model are also protected.
Okay, so the next one is Vault scalable for businesses of different sizes, from small enterprises to large corporations?
Yep. So Vault is very scalable. We work with businesses of all sizes. Um, Again, it really depends on the use case, and in some situations, especially for large corporations, we can host the system on their own private cloud to ensure that all the data stays within their business.
Great. And what sort of clients do you currently work with?
Um, as the sort of demo has shown, it's a very horizontal platform. So we've got law firms, US banks, small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and across different functions. So that might be in finance, procurement, operations, or legal.
Yeah, I think that's it. So yeah, Charles, if you want to finish.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining the webinar. It's been a pleasure, and if ever there are any additional questions, feel free to message us, and we will circulate an email containing the recording of this webinar. So thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of the week.